So outplayed by Brighton, battered at Brentford at the weekend, and they seem to be falling way short of expectation in the current transfer window. So can United fans are asking this morning, can the club sink any lower? We're going to get Simon's take, Graeme Souness' take. Tune in for this, because you will not want to miss this. As far as Erik Ten Hag, the new man in charge, as far as he's concerned, he says he needs to see more from his players. Mind you, that's a given. This was Ten Hag.
I think we all have seen the game, and I think Brentford was more hungry, one. And two, we concede goal, individual mistakes, and then you can have a good plan, but then put the plan in the bin. I sub 3, but I could have changed them all. It's clear analyze, and it's not possible that the opponent is more hungry than you are. But I saw in the second half, I saw a comeback, but you have to start well, and that is no good.
Simon, one of the questions being asked at the moment is how much blame should be pointed towards the Glazers for 10 years of struggle on the pitch. I'll get to you in a second on that. But Graeme, it doesn't seem that long ago since you and I were up in Glasgow. We did a night, you were in a theatre in Glasgow. The following morning we were talking about Rangnick. Why is he in charge of the club for the time being? Ten Hag is now in charge of the club, but is he getting a bit of a pass at the moment for the shambles that we're witnessing?
That will not last long. He came in, he made the right noises. He was going to be a disciplinarian. People are going to have to do it his way, or they'll be down the highway. I am. Where my loyalties lie. I think it's a difficult time for Man United. I'm not sure with this group of players, with this manager, that they're going to be any different to where they were last year. I really don't. I think the players are brought in are not game changers for them.
So do you not think Ten Hag will last?
I think the clock's ticking on him already. I think that's the nature of being manager of Man United at this time. They expect big things from him. He's been successful in Ajax in what is a much inferior league to the Premier League. The demands there are nothing like what he's got on his shoulders in the Premier League, and indeed managing arguably the biggest club in the world. So he's got it all on. He's not a vastly experienced manager, and I think with that group of players, a manager. If you were to speak to Pep, if you were to speak to Jurgen, they would say that the reason we're successful is we've got really, really good players. We've got top players. Man United just don't have that, and then that goes back to football decisions that have been made in the last decade. Post Ferguson, they have got so many the vast majority of footballing decisions wrong, from recruitment to dishing out new contracts to people who were already at the club that really have proved they're not Man United players. And it's just been a catalogue of mistake after mistake in their footballing decisions. And that's where, and you're going to talk about the Glazers, that's where they're culpable. They deserve criticism, in my opinion, for allowing Ed Woodward, and the red flags were going up years and years ago that he was getting the football decisions wrong. No one, if you own a business, you've got to delegate, you've got to trust people, you've got to hire people you think are fit for purpose. And I'm sorry, Ed Woodward was not up to the task of making football decisions. And that is where the problems lie.
Graeme, what happens if, I mean, it would be your old club Liverpool that they play next. What happens if Liverpool do a serious number on United?
Well, it could
they show Ten Hag the door?
Listen, don't be surprised at surprises in football. This is the worst possible game for them at the worst possible time, because the thing that Man United hate more than anything else is getting spanked by Liverpool. If it was Man City, that'd be very bad. But Liverpool is the ultimate. You do not want, if you're Man United, you don't want to be on a 3 or 4 or 5-0 from Liverpool, and that could easily happen.
In fairness to that conversation, it's priced in, though. It's priced into the thinking now that Man United are going to get spanked by Liverpool. It wasn't priced in to get beaten by Brighton and Brentford. This is like, Man United as a big club is like the Monty Python sketch of the parrot. It's a dead parrot. It no longer exists. It's an ex-parrot, right? There's nothing about Manchester United.
You tell us all the time this is an iconic club. This is the biggest club in the world.
And you look at it now and you say there's nothing about this football club in any of its guises, from the Glazers through to the chief exec from the Glazers' attitude towards the fans and the manner in which they run this football club, with the decisions that they've made to delegate to people that aren't able to be delegated to. You delegate to someone when you know what the outcome's going to be. Otherwise, you don't have the ability to delegate. You get yourself hands deep and find out yourself what's going on. From the Glazers through to the chief executive sitting in a pub negotiating with fans, through to £400 million worth of players on the pitch that have got an average age of 27 with 300 appearances between us on average, not competing in a game, through to a coach that's picking the equivalent of Tattoo from Fantasy Island, a vertically challenged centre-half, to play against 6'4" strikers, through to a coach that's supposed to know better, i.e. McLaren, that's been at Man United, through to the fans and their outbursts. There's nothing about this football club that at this moment in time is suggesting that it is the Manchester United that we all know. Now, you look at that and say, sometimes in life, you can't bounce until you hit the bottom. And I think they hit the bottom against Brentford. I think they hit the bottom tactically in the players' cowardice to change the way they play on a pitch. It's one thing. If you play out, if you're taught to play out all week, you practice it and practice it and practice it. Surely, when you get on the pitch and that isn't available, you do something different. You make decisions as top quality players. You look at that and you say, Ten Hag's on that because he picked a team that he thought could roll over Brentford, and picked a team that was tactically wrong, with centre-halves that were 2 foot tall, that couldn't compete, a goalkeeper that was ridiculously poor, and there's nothing a manager can do about the first 2 goals. That's on the goalkeeper. And then you look at it and say you've got people like the 2 wide players that have got no backside in terms of backbone in Rashford and Sancho that don't get themselves involved. Fernandes is lightweight. Eriksen's playing as a holding midfield player that's never played there before. What do you say about McLaren sitting there, been brought in, supposedly knows Man United, and you say, oh, okay, it's all about the Glazers. You've got Trotskyite people running around like Gary Neville, standing on a soapbox, telling the world that a fish rots from the top of its head. Well, if you take the backbone out of a fish, which is the team, you've got nothing else left there either. You've got to give responsibility is due. They should not be putting a performance out, irrespective of the challenges they've got, with that group of players, with that kind of spend pattern, and get beat in that way by Brighton and Brentford.
I think Den Haag...
You were nodding to everything he was saying there.
He doesn't know our game. You know, Steve McLaren's got a part to play here. You know, I've worked abroad, I've coached abroad, and it was imperative that I had someone with me that could tell me what I was going into the next weekend.
Absolutely right.
Now, you're going to Brentford. You don't have to be a nuclear scientist to work out. You're going to Brentford this weekend. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fire. This is going to be a really physical encounter. So you go with Eriksen, who I think is a super player, and you go with Fernandes in midfield. I was an old midfield player. I'm licking my lips playing against those two. I'm going to bully them. So there's a simple thing. The guy needs help. He needs help. If you're talking about the goalkeeper, I mean, any goalkeeper can make that kind of mistake at any given time. But that is the worst possible start. Then the way Man United are and the way Brentford are, it's going to be a difficult afternoon. But then for the goalkeeper to roll a ball, I'll come back to that. I was a midfield player. Eriksen's shown for the ball. He's passed him a ball where he's got someone right tight up against him. He doesn't want the ball there. Me as a midfielder, I don't want. What I'm trying to do is I'm saying to the goalkeeper, go beyond me. I'm pulling someone out of a position. Go beyond me. I do not want the ball there. Just poor decision making. Yeah. 2 goals, 2 goals conceded, solely down to the goalkeeper, and then it's mission impossible after that.
Why can't? It seems almost too obvious to ask it, Graham. Why doesn't Ten Hag see what you've just described?
I was amazed at the size of the centre back they've got. Argentinian
Martinez, yeah.
So you're putting him in against that Ivan Toney? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was only one outcome there.
I mean, the third goal was laughable.
But Simon, these are decisions. This is why Den Hag, what's his name?
Ten Hag, yeah.
Den Hag. He needs help.
But that's why I brought McLaren into the conversation, because McLaren's supposed to be brought in because he knows what's happening in English football. He's also very steeped in Man United. What a load of nonsense. They are all in it. And when people are turning around and saying, the Glazers must come over and face the music and insulate them from what? There's nothing to do with the Glazers, that performance on the pitch. There's £400 million of a starting lineup, and that includes Rashford, Eriksen, and Ronaldo, that cost them nothing. They've got £100 million coming off the bench.
Well, you mentioned Gary Neville. God. Gary on Saturday night called on the Glazers to face the music, come to Manchester and lay out their plan for the club. There's as much chance of that happening as me playing for for Manchester United against Liverpool next Monday night.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.